Good afternoon and welcome at our live event today. My name is Wieger van Maldegem and I'm going to tell you something about carrot breeding this afternoon. Unfortunately, we cannot invite you to our field this year because of the COVID situation. It would have been much nicer if you could come to the field, but it's not possible, and that's why I will tell you something in this online presentation. If you have any questions, you can type them in the live stream and I will try to answer them afterwards. As I told you, my name is Wieger van Maldegem and I'm working for this company for 29 years now. I was born and raised in the Noordoostpolder, which is an important area for growing carrots as well. My grandfather started a farm in the Noordoostpolder, which was later succeeded by my father and my uncle. And they were growing carrots and onions already. After the more normal arable crops that were grown there. I, as a young kid, among a lot of other school kids, was harvesting carrots in the school vacation in autumn, because that was all done by hand those days. Today it's all machine harvest, that it really has changed. But I am still digging out, after 45 years, carrots by hand in my selection fields in the Noordoostpolder still. Oh, sorry. So I will tell you something about these topics, the history of the carrot breeding within Seminis, the global carrot breeding, so I'm not the only carrot breeder in Seminis, the segmentation of the Nantes carrots, traits that we're working on, trialing, the trialing system that we have, varieties, and I will not tell a lot about the varieties because afterwards my colleague Wout Nelissen, who you saw before with the onions, will tell you something about the carrots that are here in front of me. And finally, I have a few slides on the seed production, the carrot seed production. So the history of carrot breeding is a very long history, and it's about these companies that came together. I started working in Royal Sluis 29 years ago, but before that Royal Sluis was working already more than 100 years in the breeding of carrots. In 1994, these companies here, that you see here, Royal Sluis, Pieter Seed and Esgrow, Hunong and Chuneng, came together in the company Seminis. Royal Sluis here in the Netherlands, Pieter Seed and Esgrow in America, and Hunong and Chuneng in Korea. And then the company Seminis was formed, and because of these different companies, we did have access to a very broad gene pool from very diverse origins, which is very nice for a breeder to have access to, because that's your toolbox actually. So, as I told you, I am working on the Nantes carrot, the carrot that is grown mostly here in Europe. A carrot that should be like 20 centimeter long and nice cylindrical. In the United States, we have a breeding program for cut and peel carrots. That's the very long type. I don't know if you can have that, but this is the cut and peel type of carrot. Which is the dominant type of carrot in the United States market. And another type that is being bred there, that is the very conical type of carrot, the Chantenay carrot, is being bred in the US as well. And that is being sold basically in the Eastern European countries and in South America. And then in Brazil we have a program for tropical carrots. And that is facing on tropical carrots only. It's a Nantes type as well, but it's not possible really to exchange or to grow it here in Europe, because it will start to bolt very quickly. So within these programs we do exchange germplasm where possible. And we do cooperate a lot also on developing new traits and developing new breeding techniques. So the segmentation that we have in the NANS program is the program, or we divide the market in 3 different segments. Actually, the early segment, the main season for Northern European carrots, and the main season for Southern European carrots. And I will tell you something about the traits that we're specifically looking for these different markets. So for early, the most important traits actually, so there's many more traits where we are looking at, but I don't want to go through the whole list. I just focus on what I think are the key traits for the products. And for early, that's bolting tolerance. So if you're going to sow early, there's a big risk that you get bolting problems if your variety is not tolerant to bolting. Especially when you're going to sow early in Northern Europe, like in November and December, then you have a very long field period. The roots can be vernalized, meaning that the flower is initiated in the root, and it will start to bloom, which is obviously unwanted for you as a grower. Then earliness is of course important, because an early carrot you want to harvest early, because that's important for the market. You hope to get a bit higher price for it when the main season carrots are not yet harvested, not yet ready, and the carrots from store are finished. Then root strength is also an important trait. Of course, fast growing is not in line with a strong root normally, but we try to get to the optimum for that, and being fast and still have a good strength. And I think with the variety Caruba we've come a very long way. It's a strong carrot, it is very good bolting tolerance, and it's mid-early, so it's not giving a risk for bolting. You can keep it in the field a little bit longer if you need. So here on this picture you see a picture of a bolting trial, and you see in this case are lines, and you really see big differences in bolting between the lines. And this is a trial actually that we are doing in the United Kingdom. This is being sown in November, if we can, or early December. And we repeat it year after year to see the differences in the hybrids. And you see big differences here. That's ranking from no bolting at all to 100% bolting. So then the next segment is main season carrots. So that's a little bit later in the season for Northern Europe. There the most important trait I would say is root strength for machine harvest. So we don't want the roots to break during the harvest. Yield potential, obviously, that's for all segments important. Leaf strength, of course, in the end, these days, most of the carrots are harvested by machine, and most of that is done by top lifters. So you need to still have good leaf on top of your roots when you want to harvest them. And storability, of course, is also important. In Northern Europe, we can harvest carrots until October, November, and then there's a period until June, I would say, where we have to store carrots, because then only in June you will have your new carrots, your fresh new carrots available. So you need to store them, and that's being done in a cool store or in the soil. And for that it's important, of course, that you don't get problems with fungal diseases And for that we have some special disease tests, so we can screen the roots for that. And also during the process of breeding, because carrots are a biennial crop, 1 year you grow the roots, and the next year you bring them to seed and to raise the next generation. Because of that, we have to store the roots as well during the winter. So we put them in a cool store, and we have a kind of natural selection there. If the roots don't survive during the winter, we cannot make seed the next generation. So that is a kind of continuous improvement on storability of your roots. Then the main season Southern European market, there's a little bit different emphasis. Yield potential, of course, is going to stay important. And then the leaf diseases, we saw them coming through with Mark's presentation as well. Alternaria doutsii resistance and powdery mildew. Yeah, these traits are even more important for the Southern European market because of the warmer climate. These diseases can be really devastating. And if you have no leaf or not enough leaf, there will be not enough photosynthesis. There will not be enough yield in the end. Together with these resistances, we're also looking at vigorous and upright leaves for this market, because that will give a nicer, more open canopy and a better microclimate, a little bit shorter leaf wetness period. So there's less time for the fungal spores to germinate. So the combination of a good resistance with a good type of leaf is going to give you the best field resistance. And a smooth skin is what the market really is looking for in Southern Europe. Then something on how we trial our varieties. This is the hybrid part. So every year we make around 500 new hybrids. They are trialed in a few trials looking at the key traits. We tend to keep 10%, so 50 varieties to trial next year in more trials. Look at yield potential, look at bolting traits under more pressure, so in the trial in the UK in very early sowing. Next year we move on to 20 varieties, and then we start, at the same time we also start bigger seed production and production of the parental lines to scale them up in case in year 4 and year 5 these varieties make it to commercial. So in the end we hope to have like 1 or 2 varieties left out of this whole series of 500 that make it to commercial. This is a picture of our trialing system in the Netherlands, in the Noordoostpolder. You can see on the left side, you can see the water level. This is 5 meters, almost 6 meters below sea level. This is reclaimed land, but a lot of agriculture there and a lot of carrots and onions in these areas as well. So we're harvesting our trials, and this is what I would like to call our harvest train. This is just a commercial carrot harvested, but rebuilt to very efficiently harvest trials. So you see, one plot is one row of 4 meters that ends up in 2 boxes. After we harvest these trials, the boxes are being moved to our breeding station in Wageningen. There they are being washed and graded. And during this washing process, we also give the roots a drop of 1 meter height on a solid foundation to see the differences in breakage afterwards. Because of that, that's an important trait, and we can very nicely index the strength of the roots in that system. And then finally, all these boxes are put next to each other. And this is only just a part of it, because we're handling thousands of plots, and we can look at more detailed at the trait, at the length of the root, at internal quality. So you can see the roots on the concrete that have been cut to look at internal greening and internal color. And then finally, we gather a lot of data, and with this data we're going to decide what hybrid goes to the next year of trialing. This is a trial in France. There we don't use this machine. The trial is not as big. You see nice differences for leaf type. The plot in the middle on the left has very nice dark upright leaf. And on the far left side you see varieties with the yellow leaf. So that's the beginning of Alternaria Doutsi in the field, what you don't want. Then there's also another special trial for Alternaria Doutsi. This is also a field trial, but it's really inoculated with the disease. And on the left bottom side you can see there's a real heavy pressure of Alternaria, and the right side it's a almost full resistant variety. It's in the same field. And as you can see, that disease can be really devastating, so you have no leaves at all left in the end. This is another trial for powdery mildew, in this case in a plastic tunnel. And also here you see very nice differences from very susceptible to highly resistant. The varieties that we have, and Wout will tell more about it, but for early Cavora and Caruba, for main season Caribou and Carlano, for Northern Europe strong carrots, and for Southern Europe the variety Carvalho. But Wout will tell a little bit more on it. So I got a few slides on seed production. How are we time-wise? Can I still do these? Yeah? Okay, so most of our carrot seed is being produced in the United States, in Washington, Idaho, Oregon area. And this is a picture when you fly in there. What you see the Snake River, and you see the green circles, which are the pivots for the irrigation system. It's a very nice, dry, warm climate, which is very good for seed production. And the river is going to give enough water. So it used to be a really desert-like area, but 100 years ago, the railway companies, in fact, started to build the irrigation system. And that's why it's called Magic Valley. All at once it became completely green and being a very good area for seed production. So this is when carrots fully bloom. So a carrot grower doesn't want to see it, but for seeds, this is what you need. So on the left side you see a female line, and on the right side you see a male line. The beehives are being placed in these fields to take care of the pollination, and in the end we can harvest the hybrid seeds from the female line. That is too fast. Go one back. So, in case you don't have a very big production, you can put it in isolation cages as well. This is our mega cages that we use for stock seed productions, parental lines, or for small hybrid productions. Because if you put your seed production outside, you really need a lot of space around it, because the bees will not stay in your confined area, but they will fly like 2-3 kilometers. So you need a wide circle around it where you don't have another variety to prevent cross-pollination. To test for producibility, we put all the lines. This is not actually for seed production, but testing. On the left side you see a female line, on the right side a male line, and then it's all different plots of these lines. That's where we test. Whether the nicking, so the flowering time of these lines, is the same. And we test the feasibility of the seed production for hybrids, because that's an important thing as well, not for our growers, But for us as a seed company, it's of course important that we can produce enough seed of our hybrids. So that was my presentation. This again is a list with the varieties, but Wout will tell a bit more about that. Do we have questions?
I have one question from the audience. What do you see as an important goal for the future of carrot breeding?
Thank you for that question. I think most important thing for the future will be disease resistance, improved disease resistance, because we see more and more pressure on chemicals that the growers can use. It's more and more difficult to introduce new crop protection for carrots, and that's why we put a lot of emphasis on disease resistance. I hope that answers your question. And I will give the floor over to Wout to tell something about these very nice carrots here in front of me.
Thank you, Wieger. My name is Wout Nelissen, and I will shortly discuss our varieties with you that I've got here on display, my experience with them and some technical details. I will not make it as scientific as Wieger did, so I hope you will enjoy. I will start with Cavora. Cavora is our earliest variety that we have in our portfolio right now, about 90 days to maturity. It's being used both for the washing market, so being washed and packed, as well as for bunching. And for bunching, for early production, is also possible to put it under fleece cover. Leaf cover is very good. If you see it next to a different variety, it really pops out. Advantage of Cavora is it's early, which means it makes quickly a cylindrical root, which means you quickly have yield and also you have quickly your desired product. Next variety, Caruba, is a little bit later, about 5 to 10 days later. It's extremely uniform, just like Cavora. But one of the advantages is it is a little bit later, but it also is stronger against breakage, which is of course an important trait when you are producing quick growing onions. It can be a soft spot sometimes. It has a much bigger harvest window compared to Cavora, which also is because it's a little bit slower growing. So it takes more days to maturity, but also when it's ready, it can also take a little bit longer until it grows out of shape or out of quality. It has a really good taste, which is confirmed both by growers as well as ourselves in this case, when you compare it against other varieties which can be found in the market, as well as our own varieties. It has quite a healthy foliage, by the way. Third, Caribou. It's a main season variety, can be harvested from summer basically until autumn, and is also suitable for long storage. So we have also seen it in long storage against competition, against market standards, and it really performs well, with the plus side that it grows a little bit of a longer root, which means you get more yield, which you also get in the end. It is a nice, smooth and cylindrical root, as you can see, with a good uniformity, which also stays uniform when, for some reason, sowing conditions have been bad, so your emergence or your germination was not as wished. On high densities as well as on low densities, it gives a nice, uniform root. Next one is Calano. Calano has about 130 days to maturity, so it's a little bit later than our Caribou, which I discussed before. Caribou is 120, Calano is 130. It has a very high yield potential. It can be used both for fresh market as well as, for example, for slicing and other ways of processing. It's a really high yielding variety with really healthy tops, one of the healthiest in the market, at least of our portfolio that we have in the Netherlands, and also compared to competition. Powdery mildew is not an issue with this variety, and it's also quite strong against Alternaria doudsii, and it's really suitable for organic production for that reason. Next is Carvalho. Carvalho is, as Wieger mentioned, one of our Alternaria doudsii resistant varieties, which means it is also suitable for organic production, also strong against powdery mildew. It gives nice cylindrical and smooth roots, as you can see here. And it's especially for areas with a high disease pressure. So usually more a little bit for the southern countries, but also here in the north, for example, for organic production. One of the advantages is that this carrot will not get too long, so it will keep its size and it will not get out of size. These were our Nantes varieties. Next up is a cut and peel variety, which is the CR1706. It's one of our varieties that comes from the American breeding program, as Wieger has discussed with you before. It gives a high yield, suitable for processing for example, baby carrots or snack carrots. It gives long roots, which means you can take a lot of final product out of one carrot. It has a smooth skin, so it is also easy to peel. And even under different conditions, it keeps its uniformity. Its leaves are stronger than what we see in the field, than what the competition offers right now. This was a short presentation of our varieties. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if there are any questions, feel free to ask.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. We got two questions from the audience. The first one is, what is the main difference between Carlano and Caribou?
The main difference between Carlano and Caribou is, on one side, the health. Carlano is very healthy. It is, as mentioned, is one of the healthiest varieties of our portfolio, suitable for organic production, whereas Caribou we see is best suitable for conventional production. Also, there's a slight difference in days to maturity, so Carlano will need a little bit longer.
All right, thank you. And the other question, which variety gives good yield and is suitable for storage?
Suitable for storage and good yielding are both Caribou as Carlano. And as mentioned, the difference is Carlano is for organic production, Caribou is for conventional production, with both giving very high yields, both gross yield as well as net yield.